So the Extinction Rebellion protests have been banned from London, and it doesn't matter whether you're pro-Extinction Rebellion, whether you believe in what they stand for, or you're against what they stand for, whether you think climate change is an urgent issue that needs addressing right now, or whether you think it's just some far-off threat that's not any immediate threat and it isn't to be taken all that seriously. Because this has ceased to be about that now. It stopped being about climate change and climate action and the climate emergency. It's now about our democratic right to protest, because in any serious democracy, every country across the planet, or most of the countries across the planet, consider themselves democratic, or they call themselves democratic, or at the very least they call themselves for the people, or of the people. Even North Korea calls itself a people's republic. Even China calls itself a people's country. Obviously democracy means demos kratos, which is rule of the people, or people's rule. So every country that calls itself democratic considers itself to be for the people, run by the people, even China and North Korea. So if you're calling yourself democratic and then you're banning peaceful protests, that's not democratic by nature. That is almost fascistic, I'd go as far to say. You're actually censoring people from demonstrating in favour of a cause that they support. And it doesn't matter what you think of Extinction Rebellion, whether you think they're uncooperative crusties, as Boris Johnson called them, or whether you think they're this era's freedom fighters fighting for, fighting for the environment, fighting for the climate, fighting for the planet. Doesn't matter. It's not about that anymore. It's about your democratic right to protest. And I know there's a lot of people saying, oh well, Extinction Rebellion, they're holding up traffic, they're disadvantaging or inconveniencing people's lives, people's day-to-day activities. Yes, that is the whole point of a protest. A protest is meant to cause as much disruption as possible to get your message across. The last Extinction Rebellion block of protests caused our government to admit that there was a climate emergency. This one was trying to get them to say exactly what they were going to do about it. It's a fair question. It's a fair thing to ask, a fair thing to say. What are you going to do about it? Okay, you've admitted it was an emergency, now what are you going to do about it? Now, as I keep saying, it doesn't matter what you think of them or what their cause. It's about our right to protest. Because if we start saying now, this group doesn't have a right to protest, that group doesn't have a right to protest, how long does it get down the line before it becomes an issue pops up that you're worried about, or that you're concerned about, or that you think needs addressing by the government, and then the government say you can't protest, you're not allowed to protest because it's a disruption to people's life. It's a very slippery slope. How long before, say, anti-Brexit votes or pro-Brexit votes get banned by the police? How long before Free Tommy Robinson marches get banned by the police, or marches to do with cuts to the NHS, or marches to do with cuts to the Royal Mail and schooling and education? How long will it get? How far down the line does it get before you stop agreeing that every group that's been banned should have been banned, was right to be banned from protesting because you didn't like them? And what point does it get to an issue that you believe in and that you want to go out and protest for, or that you even support the protests for? How far down the line does it get before that issue gets banned from being brought to the public attention in way of protest? Protest is one of the oldest democratic practices on the planet. One of the oldest traditions throughout history. Whenever people had a problem with the government, whenever they've seen an issue that the government isn't addressing, or that the government isn't doing enough to talk about, they've gone out to the streets and they've protested, and they've interrupted people's day-to-day activities, they've stopped traffic, they formed human chains around things and chained themselves to trees and whatever else. Every major political movement in history has done it. Whether it's universal suffrage, whether it's the civil rights movement, whether it's gay rights, they've all done it and they've all caused disruption. So please stop coming out with this empty, hollow rhetoric about, oh well, they're disruptive so they should be banned. No, think deeper than that. If you ban one group, it's a slippery slope to banning many, many more. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.